Energy Intelligence. Powerful thinking for the global energy industry.
Maurizio, thank you for joining us. Thank you for attending Oil and Money this year. A very interesting panel session. I wanted to start with the growth strategy. Now, you mentioned the 400,000 barrels of oil equivalent that you're producing now. And there was talk of maybe going to 600,000 barrels per day by 2020. Is that still the broad plan? And are you sticking to those main targets?
Well, first, Alex, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be at Oil and Money. I've been here for many years, and I like the fact that you guys are able to refresh the conference every year and pick themes which are topical. So it makes it interesting and attractive for many in the industry. So regarding our strategy, the 600,000 barrels a day was an aspirational target that we set several years ago. You have a good memory. We actually pitched a few years ago. As part of our strategy now, it's a little less tied to numbers, but more tied to the quality of the opportunities that we're going to bring. So in essence, we're gonna build our business. The objective is to double in size. Today we are in a $8 to $10 billion in terms of free cash flow valuation, future valuation company. If we were to get to the $18-20 billion by 2020, 2022, then I would say the growth mission is accomplished. What that translates in terms of production, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be, I'd rather have 500,000 barrels a day, but very profitable, than 600,000 barrels a day, but less profitable. So it's an aspirational target that over time we'll see where we're going to get. But again, profitability, efficiency, cost control are literally more important than absolute numbers nowadays.
Yeah, because some of the other companies that are in the region, they're tweaking their strategies as well. I think they've realized that these sort of hard numbers that they're going for, aspirational numbers, makes it very difficult. You will be constantly revising and explaining why you haven't reached them. Other companies, Kufbeck, for example, they've taken a different approach. They're looking for strategic assets that can help them potentially back at home. Mm-hmm. So as Sheikh Nawaf was saying today, and he told me yesterday the same thing, looking for heavy oil abroad, those skills can be used back in Kuwait. It sounds like what you're saying is you're more focused on the sort of return, the financial performance of the company, and less sort of on investing in strategic assets that may help Abu Dhabi or the UAE.
It's actually both. It's actually both. So our main purpose, as I explained in the section, is really threefold. Number one, it's financial returns. We've been invested and we are deploying Abu Dhabi capital internationally, and our shareholder expect a return from this money. And so we're brutally focused on bringing back a decent return to our shareholder. The second one is strategic. So the strategic part of our role in Abu Dhabi is really bringing gas to Abu Dhabi. Dolphin is probably the most important manifestation of that effort. We're now bringing in excess of 2 billion cubic feet of gas, the fuel, the power plants, and the water of the nation, literally, and the industries. To complement that, we are developing, together with one of our sister company, IPIC, the Fujairah Emirates LNG regasification plant. This plant at peak capacity by 2016-17 is going to be able to bring in excess of 1 billion cubic feet of gas to the Emirates. Again, we're doing that because it's part of a strategic view of diversifying the sources of supply, taking also care of the peak demand that materializes in the summer in Abu Dhabi. Unfortunately, in the Emirates, you have to size everything for that hottest day in the summer. But you have a swing of 40, 50, 60% sometimes from the base load. It's also part of Abu Dhabi policy of diversifying the sources of supply, meaning that aside from the ADNOC gas, which will continue to remain the base load, Abu Dhabi is developing nuclear, as has been widely advertised, that is going to complement the base load sources of supply. Renewable through Masdar, again, is not big number, but by 2020, probably 500 to 700 megawatt are going to be deployed through renewable means, and then imported gas, Dolphin and Emirates LNG. So the 4 or 5 options provide Abu Dhabi with choices and optionality to maximize the efficiency of the system. So back to Mubadala Petroleum, making money, bringing gas. And the last one is the one that is equally important, is the development of UAE nationals and the development of the nationals in the country in which we work. I'm very fortunate. I've been, so to speak, graduating a couple of ministers, 2 individuals that work for me. One is the Minister of State Affairs, the other one is the Minister of Energy. So on that count, so far mission accomplished. But there is a lot more work that we're doing, and particularly on the side of women, we're putting particular emphasis in developing women in the industry, in our industry. So hopefully, ideally, one day we're going to have a woman CEO in Mubadala Petroleum.
Let's see.
That would be a phenomenal development.
Now, in terms of, are you looking abroad for assets that can help bring LNG, for example? I mean, would you be investing in upstream sort of LNG assets? Is that
yes, we're pursuing a strategy, a two-pronged strategy. So the first one is the one that is really our main strategy for growth, which is exploration. Mm-hmm. So we're exploring in Southeast Asia, in the Caspian, in the Middle East, and in Africa. So we're looking at East Africa as an opportunity to explore for gas. So we already acquired participation in the block in Tanzania, Block 7. We're going to start drilling, I believe, in December, our first well. So hopefully we're gonna get some success. The issue, though, with exploration, as I think very clearly someone explained yesterday in one of the panels, from the moment you find that molecule of gas and the moment you bring it to market, it's 8 to 10 years. Right. So exploration is for the long term. So shorter term, and that's the second prong of our strategy, we're looking at the potential for acquisition. Right. So there is a lot of gas that has been discovered in places like Mozambique, Tanzania, and in the Eastern Rift, and we're looking at opportunities to farm into existing discoveries. Price tag is fairly high, but it's still, though, from a strategic standpoint, acquiring reserves in those areas is still of interest. So we're looking for the right opportunity. Early days, but it's definitely something that we'll continue to do.
Okay. And what's on the horizon? What are you working on? Anything you can tell us about your upcoming deals?
No, on the M&A, unfortunately, I like to comment after we close the deal.
Most do.
And before, it's all speculative, it's all aspirational, and you only, raise expectations that then becomes unfulfilled. So you'll be the first one to know when we close.
What about regionally? Where are you looking? I mean, you mentioned East Africa is one, but what about North America?
So geographically, we have
Southeast Asia. I mean, these things. Is that where you're going to grow around? Organic growth.
We have what has served us well has been what I describe internally as a brutal focus, geographical focus. The temptation of going to South America, North America. We've had many opportunities in Russia, China, has been big. At the same time, we've kept our geographical focus over the years, and it served us well. So where are we working? We're working primarily in Southeast Asia, where we have fairly large operations, and we are developing discoveries that we made over the years. In the Caspian, where we have we participate in exploration in Kazakhstan. In the GCC, where we have the bulk of our projects, from Dolphin to Mukesna to Tatweer Petroleum, and then many other Cummins opportunities, Block 62 and a few others. And Africa. Africa is going to really be, if I have to look in the next 5 to 10 years, for us the next frontier. So we already have exploration opportunities in North Africa, namely in Libya. We have Tanzania, where about to open in a couple of other fronts. Again, I don't want to speculate in comments because are still in progress. But we do have a range of negotiations to open other opportunities in Africa. Africa will be literally in the next 10 years where I strongly believe our growth is going to come from. And together with Southeast Asia, GCC and Caspian, I can see a future for us more on the redevelopment and also recovery arena. Exploration is not really one of the main drivers in this part of the world.
No, absolutely. Now, in Africa, is it the terms that are interesting? Is it the opportunities that are interesting? Is it the fact that you have particular strategic or connections to the area? I mean,
all of the above.
All of those things.
I mean, connection plays a huge part. The government of Abu Dhabi is in friendly terms with many of the countries in Africa, East Africa, North Africa particularly, and West Africa as well. So we have unparalleled access at the highest level of the government and the national companies. So the question for us is how to leverage that access, but also to complement that with something that others cannot bring, which is the availability and leveraging Abu Dhabi other enterprises. For instance, for example, a company like Takas, which is a power company, can bring their expertise to bear on the power sector. Companies like Emirates Aluminium or Dubai Aluminium, we are in discussion to enable them to get access to cheap gas to expand their footprint in the aluminium business. Companies like funds, the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development, which again provides soft loans for agricultural, food, and so we're trying to understand how do we leverage this goodwill and this a range of opportunities that Abu Dhabi can bring, real estate, banking, and so on and so forth, to provide those governments and national companies with a package of opportunity where oil and gas become one piece of it. Having said that, oil and gas needs to stand on its own feet. So in terms of, we don't like trade-offs. We don't like subsidizing this to make the other look better. So everything needs to stand, independently, and whatever we do. But at the same time, it's an interesting discussion to have with some of those governments because it prompts them to also look at Abu Dhabi, look at the UAE as a long-term partner.
One of your early strategies was you were working a lot with Oxy, and as they were expanding around. And a lot of your assets in Bahrain and Oman and Iraq, at least in the GCC and Libya, was often very tied to Oxy. And of course, the risk of that is if the company changes its strategy, which we've seen recently, the new CEO has announced. Do you see that as a potential risk going forward? I mean, you're going to potentially be expanding without Oxy going forward, or tying yourself to a single company like you did in the beginning?
Well, I want to dispel this notion that Oxy is the favorite partner. We so happen to have done several good deals with them. And I have to say, primarily driven by the fact that among all the companies we partnered with, they're one of the most open-minded. And in terms of partnership, also, they listen. They understand the value we bring. So I would say they've been one of the first to grasp the value of the Mubadala Petroleum. Remember, putting in context, many years ago, it was 7 or 8 of us. We have nothing. We were developing Dolphin. Oxy was one of the first to understand that we partner with those guys. We can get things done. I have to say today, we're partnering with many other companies. I would say Total is one of our largest partners, both in Southeast Asia and the Middle East, and we're looking at many other things with them. Likewise, Shell is now a good partner of us in Southeast Asia particularly, but we have several discussions ongoing in other parts of the world. So we kind of graduated into a different area. So while we'll continue to work with Oxy, I personally do not believe that they're going to abandon their Middle East business. I think that they're trying to appease the investor and the shareholder by taking some money, crystallizing some of the value they created, bringing the money back to the United States to deploy in the lower 48. But I think they're committed to the Middle East. They're committed to continue to grow that part of the world. I think it's just rebalancing their portfolio a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're very keen in partnering with them in the future as well. But again, we have many partners now, more than ever. We're partnering with Ophir in Tanzania. We have discussion with Anadarko in several other areas. And I can go on and on and on. BP as well is a company that we would like to do things with. So E&I, again, there are discussions with them. So I think the kind of exclusivity that some people believe we have with Oxy is not a real factor.
Okay. You've been working with them for a number of years on several difficult projects, the deep gas project in Bahrain, the heavy oil in Oman. After this number of years, would Mubadala be comfortable operating projects like that? So let's say maybe that one of those assets was for sale. Would Mubadala be capable of taking on some of these more difficult projects, or is it still this sort of technology is not quite what Mubadala is bringing at the moment?
It depends. Again, you said it right. There are projects where the applications of certain technologies, certain operatorship skills are still, I would say, beyond our reach, and I'll be very honest. There is also the risk component. Projects like the one that you cited, in Bahrain, in Mukhaizna, in Oman. You want to share the risk with others, frankly speaking. And could we operate? Yes, we could, because at the end of the day, it's people and having the recipe. And we could also leverage on the relationship we've built with companies like Petrofac or with Halliburton or Schlumberger. We've developed over the years relationship which enable us to bring those companies to complement our skill sets. And we're still, we would be the operator, but we will lean heavily on some of their people and skill sets to accomplish the mission. So we are contemplating that. A great development that we are going to announce soon, I believe, imminently, is the Ruby gas development in Indonesia. We're literally days from first gas. Okay. I've seen a picture of gas flaring out of one of the platforms 3 days ago, literally. They told me they were cleaning one of the wells, but at the same time, this is probably going to be, when in operation, our greatest accomplishment as a company, meaning that we found and proven the reserves, we designed the facilities. It's a complex project. It's in the middle of nowhere in East Kalimantan, not deep water, but 60-meter waters. We're building a 316 meters a kilometer pipeline to tie in to the Bontang LNG facilities, where we're cleaning the gas, and then we're bringing it onshore to supply a fertilizer plant, okay, which in turn is going to provide food to millions in Indonesia. Okay. And we negotiated the contracts. We did everything. We are the operator. Total and Impex, two very reputable companies, are our junior partners. Mm-hmm. And so completing that project on time, on budget, and bringing the gas to the government of Indonesia has given us the confidence that we can replicate that model almost anywhere we decide to replicate that model. There were talks at the back end of my panels about the ability to develop gas in the Middle East. So probably we're not going to go after the big fields, but frankly speaking, there are fields that neither the national oil company or the IOCs even look at because they're too small. Right. The half a trillion cubic feet, no one is looking at it because their cost structure and because the production is not billions of cubic feet a day. Right. But that's something we could do, and that's something.
Not Abu Dhabi, right? It's still or
I have to say that. It's one of our secret wishes that one day we could provide the skill set that we develop, which actually some of our UAE nationals are actually on the forefront of those skill sets, to the nation as well. And so it's early days. That discussion has not happened yet. Right. But it would be great if one day we could demonstrate that we can take a small field, a small discovery, and bring it to production. Right. Again, it's not going to make a huge dent in the system because we're talking about producing under 200 million scuff a day, but everything counts, and we could develop a field like that probably cheaper than anybody else, okay, and efficiently.
I want to turn quickly to.
Could I ask if you've identified any fields?
No, I mentioned it's early days, and I mentioned also I qualify as highly aspirational. You know that the national company, rightly so, is very protective. But the reality, though, is that now the energy minister is our chairman,
Right.
and he's a former ADNOC employee. He spent 7 years with us.
Yeah.
So he's really building phenomenal bridges with the national companies. One of our newest and latest addition to the team, to the management team, is one of the top, probably in the top 5 in ADNOC, and he's going to come in hopefully next week to be in charge of growth. So I'm gonna lean heavily on him, and the fact that he's such a great reputation in the national company to help us, hopefully in the next few years bridge the gap. We're not in a hurry. ADNOC got huge project coming on stream, the Shah and other, so there are plenty of gas. But in the future, that's something that we'll certainly look into it.
Okay.
But again, could be Oman. Tremendous opportunities in Oman, smallish field. We're not talking the Kazan Makarem that BP is going to develop, and elsewhere. I mean, there are opportunities throughout the Middle East, stuff that has been overlooked by the national companies and the IOCs that we could leverage. What we have done in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and also I've noticed quite a lot of UAE momentum building up in the Kurdistan region. Sheikh Lubna has been there.
Yeah.
Talk is investing there. Have you looked there?
Not yet.
Yeah.
We're waiting for instructions. As you know, there are sensitivity between the south and the north, and as a 100% government-owned company, we take instruction from the government. TAQA is a publicly traded company. They have a little more flexibility than us. So when the call is made, definitely we're going to be looking at opportunities.
And either of the Sudans? Have you looked at?
Not yet. I mean, we looked in the past at some opportunity in the south, but again, the hopper of opportunities we have is such that, frankly speaking, a lot of them falls beyond I mentioned in the panel that we're people constraints and talent constraints, and frankly speaking, we have to prioritize, and we have a lot of stuff, and sometimes there are opportunities that kind of go into a waiting list, and I can think of Sudan probably as one of them. There are other things that we're working on it that are a lot more leverage in the shorter term. But I don't preclude that one day, if the political situation stabilizes, and again under the blessing of our government, we would definitely. One of the major roles that Abu Dhabi wants us to play is an agent of stabilization. Investing in Egypt, investing in Libya, creating jobs for the national workforce, helps stabilizing the country. And Abu Dhabi wants a stable Middle East. I mean, it's as simple as that. And so they're ready to deploy money in all those countries to support, the industrial development and make a good return in the process.
Right. Well, sometimes those investments won't necessarily give you the sort of return you're looking for, right? So in some ways,
unfortunately, our bar is very high. We cannot even bring stuff that, at least on the onset, won't bring a return. So. Again, Abu Dhabi got other ways to support. I mentioned the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development. I mentioned, the Zayed charities and so on. So they do help, in different ways. For us, it's business.
Okay. And I wanted to turn quickly to the UAE sort of gas supply, and with Dolphin. Any hope of getting more gas through the Dolphin pipeline above the 2 BCF? I know you have
the short answer is
3.2
yes,
BCF.
to the extent that there are ongoing discussions with the Qataris. Obviously, the moment you built an umbilical cord that united two countries, and we're investing heavily, as been announced by Dolphin, in expanding the capacity of the pipeline to up to 3.2 billion cubic feet. So it's implicit that sooner or later, those discussions that are ongoing with the Qatari, we have a great relationship with them, are going to come to fruition, and more gas is going to flow through the pipeline.
Right. Well, I mean, Wintershall made a big discovery, and I was speaking to the energy minister back in the last OPEC meeting, and he was saying, well, we have to look to monetize this in some
Yeah.
way. This is higher priced gas. This isn't North Field gas, but this, the obvious sort of connection would be like, well, this could certainly go through the Dolphin pipeline. The Northern Emirates are already paying extra for the sort of incremental interruptible supplies.
We're going to bring LNG, so we're ready. The Emirates is ready to pay world prices for gas.
Right, exactly.
So those discussions are going to happen. Again, I don't want to speculate. Obviously, Wintershall is discovery. There are other opportunities in Qatar. The system is such that there is a lot of gas, and so the answer is yes, it's going to come.
Okay.
But I cannot speculate from which field, from which. But we will. The reason why we're making this investment in the additional capacity of the pipeline is because we do believe that indeed we're going to fill it.
Okay. And on the Emirates LNG, you said numbers about 9 million tons per year eventually,
Yes.
right? But there's 3 different phases, right?
There are a couple of phases. Yeah, there are a couple of phases that I can speak of. The first phase is going to be 4.5, and the second phase is going to go up to 9 million.
Okay.
And then there is possibility for expansion.
Okay. So you see obviously a large need within the UAE for more than 9 million tons per year of gas.
I can say that this is part of this effort to A, diversify the sources of supply,
Mm-hmm.
B, provide optionality. The choice of Fujairah is not by choice. It's not by accident. It was a choice. Outside of the Gulf, proximity with East Africa and other potential supplies. So it's both a strategic choice, but also, LNG is going to give you the flexibility to maximize the efficiency of the system, particularly in the summer when demand goes through the roof.
Right.
And nowadays, putting a stress on the entire system. But it's also going to provide a national company, ADNOC, with less stress on their overall plans for reinjection, reservoir pressure maintenance, and so on,
Right.
which in summer now are challenged, and they have to constantly modify it according to the demand. So it's good from a country standpoint to have the opportunity to modulate among several different supply options.
Right.
So if LNG prices go down, you're going to be more competitive than other sources, perhaps. And so we're going to have the ability to get the best, if you want, supply into the system of Abu Dhabi and the Northern Emirates, and the Emirates at large.
So when is that 4.5 going to be on? When is that going to be ready, that capacity to start importing?
They're still working on the feed. Again, I don't have the latest information. They were talking about the end of 2015 for phase 1,
Mm-hmm.
and then 16 or 17 for phase 2. But it's public information. We hired Technip.
Yeah.
They're working on the design. I think they're going to be finished early next year, and then by that time we'll have greater visibility or when the first cargo can be imported. But I do believe that late 15, maybe early 16, it's a reachable target.
Okay, I see. And I wanted to sort of end with, there's always been this relationship between the oil companies in Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
TAQA, Mubadala, IPIC, ADNOC. You mentioned in your speech today that Mubadala is the international upstream arm potentially of ADNOC. I don't know if that was literal or you're just saying
No, I was aspirational.
Yeah. But I understood recently that there was a bit more cooperation between all of them. Where,
yes.
Before there was always an understanding you sort of had to work together. You divided up regions. You sort of agreed not to compete, but just sort of you divided up your strategies. But it seems now there's more coordination than there was before. Is that true, or is this sort of?
The short answer is yes. There was a lot of coordination before, by the way. Now it's a little bit more in the open. Just to give an idea, TAQA and us, we move in the same building. We're a few floors apart.
Okay.
Carl and I have lunch probably once a month together. Our team met yesterday actually on some opportunities. Yes, there is a lot of coordination with TAQA. There is a lot of coordination with IPIC. We're partners in the Emirates LNG deal. We talk to them frequently. Their upstream arm, which is CEPSA, it's another company with whom we have frequent interaction. So, but I can say though, having been there from day one, there was coordination before. It was less in the open.
Right.
You probably noticed that we never cross path, we never bid for the same things, we never embarrass, if you want, Abu Dhabi by doing silly things, and that will continue. Right now, though, the aspirations and the mandates have gelled a little more, and so there is a determination of becoming more efficient, of doing things together. I wouldn't be surprised the next 12 months to 2 years we're going to announce joint deals with them, like we've done with IPIC on Emirates LNG.
Okay.
We may do some business with TAQA. I mean, we see a lot of synergetic value. Again, the subtle difference. TAQA, although majority owned by the government, is a publicly traded company. So for their demeanor, the way they operate is slightly different than us. They have a little more flexibility in terms of geography. They are in North Sea, they are in North America. We won't go there. I mean, as simple as that. I mentioned earlier.
You won't go to North America, and you won't.
No, there is no reason for us. I mean, TAQA is there. Again, it's a playing field that is crowded already, that is highly competitive. And we would like to stick with the geography I mentioned earlier. Southeast Asia, where our growth is coming from, the Caspian, the GCC, and Africa. This is where Abu Dhabi got the most influence. This is where also, from a practical standpoint, with the limited human resources we have, we can manage, both from a time perspective, from a travel perspective. And last but not least, it's been said in several of the panel, still 70% of world oil reserves and probably 65% of production is within this geography. We don't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah, that's true.
There are going to be opportunity in if you want, unconventional in the future. So we're looking at that space with interest as well. So we're very happy where we are, and we'll continue to play in this space.
Okay, so we won't see TAQA in East Africa, we won't see TAQA in the GCC, and they should.
No, you probably see them. I mean, I mentioned that we may be doing deals together.
With them,
together. I don't preclude. I mean, as I mentioned, TAQA is a company, is a publicly traded company. They're not constrained. Mm-hmm. They can go anywhere they please. The only thing that is happening is it's a healthy coordination in terms of managing expectation and also managing competitive landscape. Right. So I can only say we're looking at a lot of things together, and hopefully we're gonna do some deals together.
But if you were already coordinating, what has changed? I mean, I guess I'm trying to. If you're already coordinating from day one with the companies, if you say there's greater coordination now.
No, greater coordination to the extent that I believe that they have consolidated, done a great job in their, and again, I don't want to speak on behalf of Carl, but they've done a great job in North America. Mm-hmm. They've done a great job in the North Sea. I think they need to show the shareholder that are opening other avenues and opportunities. And I think there's nothing better than going in the Middle East and Africa to kind of fuel their growth. I doubt you're going to see them in Southeast Asia, for example.
Okay, I see.
But Middle East, MENA, in Africa, I think the playing field, and I firmly believe that together we can be a lot stronger. Mm. I mean, we could leverage each other's skill sets. They have great operatorship capability that they hone in the North Sea and in North America. Our operatorship capabilities are primarily coming from Southeast Asia, so the combination could be a powerful force.
Maurizio, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a
Alex,
pleasure. And
likewise.
Hope to see you next year.
We'll be here.